Welcome back, everybody. So here we are with the bonus uh, part of issue 15, and in this one, we're going to talk about the A/SF-01 B-Wing Starfighter. So I'm guessing the SF stands for Starfighter. A, I think, is Alliance, maybe. According to this, Admiral Akbar worked with the Slane and Corporal Starship Manufacturing Company to build these starships, and in hopes of replacing the B-wing, or not the B-wing, sorry, the Y-wing. So we'll talk about that a little bit, but then we'll tell you maybe some other stuff that's not in here. So let's talk about the dimensions of it. So its length is 16.9 meters. It's got a 91 mglt, which is faster, I think, than the Millennium Falcon. I'd have to go back and look. I thought the Millennium Falcon was like 75 or something. But its maximum speed in atmosphere is slower by 100 kilometers per hour. The unit has a Quadrex Cryomaster engine or Slane and Corporal JZ5 Fusel thrust engine. It's got a Class 2 hyperdrive, so in hyperspace it's definitely slower than the Millennium Falcon. The Slane and Corporal Hyperdine 997 Hyperdrive Motivator, the Vinox O2K cryogenic power cells and ionization reactor for the power plant, and its standard configuration is a 3 times Armex SW7A light ion cannon, one Gurhill R9X heavy laser cannon, one Gurhill 72 twin auto blasters, and two Krups X MG9 proton torpedo launchers with 8 proton torpedoes each. Standard loading. So the B-Wing took its name from roughly the B shape on the side profile. It looked like a lowercase b, although the ship is also known as the Cross due to its actual shape. So, variable geometry. The B-Wing's main body is essentially a single long wing with the cockpit at one end, a weapons pod on either side, and a pair of folding S-foils in the middle, which are extended when in attack mode, so that gets spreads out the lasers, right? Rotating cockpit airfoils allow the B-Wing to be housed vertically in launch racks. The ship is also able to land horizontally, but the disadvantage of this is that in the parked position, all three of its wings had to be locked together, restricting maintenance access to the whole of the central area and making it virtually impossible to work on the lower S-foil. So, um, ship was designed to be reconfigurable with a heavy primary airfoil running the length of the hull and the two folding S-foils amidships. The cylindrical cockpit is at one end of the primary airfoil, balanced by the weapons pod on the other. Something that's unusual is the cockpit gyroscopic stabilization system, which means that the pilot is always horizontal while the rest of the ship goes around him, which was always something as a kid that was really cool when they came out in Return of the Jedi. This unique configuration was designed to allow the pilot to conduct advanced attack maneuvers. So this was also kind of designed to be as a light bomber as well. So I think the ones in The Last Jedi were not B-Wings. They were specifically bombers, because I don't believe this. I believe this is not as big as what those bombers were. Like I said, the shape and everything's the same, but I think that these are actually different. So don't quote me on that. I haven't really looked up to see what those are in The Last Jedi, but I think that's what the case is. So it's developed to replace the older Y-wing Starfighter. The B-wing's primary role was envisioned as a fast attack fighter capable of targeting Imperial capital ships, although it is equally capable of assaulting ground-based installations as a fighter or a bomber. Highly adaptable, it has modular components and hardpoints, two factors that allow it to be configured with wide range of weapons that most other Alliance fighters don't have. Um, so um, it's flexible and all that kind of stuff, so that's really important. So according to this, Admiral Akbar was the co-designer. He's a Mon Calamari commander and expert tactician who rose to lead the Alliance fleet at the decisive Battle of Endor. He's the one that famously uttered, "It's a trap." So yeah, his flagship Home One was one of the several Mon Calamari star cruisers that formed the backbone of the rebels' capital ships. The shield is down. Commence attack. So, although the Rebel Alliance could not deploy limited number, could only deploy limited numbers of B-wings, and there was a shortage of qualified pilots because it was actually difficult to fly due to its orientation and whatnot. These fighters were a key part of the attack plan on the Battle of Endor. The B-wings proved their worth and soundness of the heavy attack fighter concept when they shot down two Imperial class Star Destroyers, after which two Blue Squadron flights joined Lando Calrissian's attack before breaking off to counter the fire of the TIE fighters pursuing the Millennium Falcon. After the battle, the versatility of the B-Wing's modular design was demonstrated when examples were fitted when examples were fitted with firefighting equipment and sent to Endor, where they were used to extinguish numerous fires caused by falling debris from the second Death Star. So it's got a lot of things going for it. Blah blah blah. It's not very heavily armored, and it's not as fast as some starfighters, and nor as nimble. So it's yeah, it says neither particularly fast nor agile. Another problem is that it's a challenge to fly. However, it's heavy. It has heavy firepower and strong defensive shields. It does say in here that it's got sensors on par with most capital ships, so that's also a good thing for it. Um, so we'll talk about where it came from. Now, anybody that's watched the Rebels series would know that this thing is not accurate. At least according to Rebels, um, the B-wings were old mothballed things or whatever, and the Rebels actually had a mission where they had to go try to acquire some, and so to help out with the Rebel fleet. So um, they actually had been around for a while. They weren't specifically designed for the Rebel Alliance. So um, that part is actually incorrect. Maybe at one point that was correct, but it's no longer correct, at least from what we saw in Rebels. So behind the scenes, the B-Wing actually derives its name from when the ILM crew developed two Rebel spaceships for Return of the Jedi, which were referred to as the A and B fighters. While the shape of the A-wing does look like a capital A, the B-wing resemblance to a lowercase b is rather more fanciful, right? So you just had to use your imagination on that one. The ship's shape and slim profile caused problems for blue screen filming as parts tended to disappear, which meant that these ships were relegated to more of a supporting B-roll than originally intended. The rotating cockpit concept was originally proposed for the Millennium Falcon, although the idea was dropped. On the Model B wing, the movement was driven by a stepper motor, as were the S-foil wings. So there you go. There's some more information about that. Now we're going to talk about mining on Bespin. So, and this I think is pretty accurate. So, this talks about the rarity of Tibanna gas and all that kind of stuff and its uses. So, It has many uses. It is sometimes used as a heating fuel, although that's kind of a waste because there's a lot of different more kind of cost-effective ways of using it, of, providing heat. So um, while the gas from the Tibanna has a unique ability to power blasters or other weapons, Tibanna gas produces a pulse of energy when cohesive light is passed through it, so it can be used as a conducting agent in blasters and other energy weapons. Um, it has to be spin sealed or compacted at the atomic level. Which quadruples the energy yield and thus produces a more effective weapon. Now, I know this to be accepted as official because um, I just got done listening to the third Thrawn book, the new books, Thrawn Treason, and in there they were talking about Tibanna gas being used for the turbo lasers. So um, yeah, so that's actually a thing. So one of the things is the smaller weapons. Um, uh, the small blasters cannot handle such a high level of power, but the destructive energy is perfect for heavier blaster weapons on starships. So that's pretty interesting. Now it talks about the spin sealed gas. Uh, Bespin is unique in that spin sealed gas occurs naturally in some instances, so they're able to capture it at Bespin, and that's the only place that they can do that. Otherwise, it's quite costly to try to um, make that happen through a manufacturing process. So that makes Bespin a bit more valued as far as a place to be able to get the Tibanna gas. So and then the regular Tibanna gas is used as hyperdrive coolant. So that's pretty cool. Um, it does talk about how I don't know if you heard that. That was a huge strike of lightning. That's pretty crazy. So let's talk about the Ugnaughts here. The original source of mining entrepreneur Eclipses Fig's vast fortune was his discovery that Bespin possessed huge amounts of easily accessible Tibanna gas, which he began to extract as a hyperdrive coolant. When Fig found that Bespin's Tibanna gas naturally suited for use in blasters, he expanded his operation and set up the airborne colony floating home. He recruited 3 tribes of Ugnaughts, hardworking porcine humanoids, who he promised freedom from their lives of slavery in return of constructing the colony. When Cloud City was finally built using the original floating home as a template, Fig honored his promise and the Ugnaughts built their own community in the depths of the city and now number around 8% of that population. So that's pretty cool. At least, a businessman that was actually honorable. So behind the scenes, all of the Ugnaught masks in the Empire Strikes Back were unique latex moldings that depict individual characters, which is kind of cool. The creatures were sketched out by Ralph McQuarrie, but each one's facial characteristics was developed by makeup effects supervisor Stuart Freeborn, whose career dated back to the 1930s when he worked on such films as Thief of Baghdad. Famously, Freeborn designed the ape seen in Dawn of Man sequence in 2001: Space Odyssey before moving on to Star Wars, for which he helped create Chewbacca, Jabba the Hutt, and Yoda. So, interesting thing about Yoda, I can't remember if we talked about it here, if it was on a special. Um, he, when he was coming up with Yoda, he actually used his own face as a kind of model for Yoda. So, to look at Yoda, you're actually looking at him because he was obviously a much older guy in the late 70s, early 80s, and so if he was working in the 30s, you're talking about somebody that's probably 70 plus years old by this time, so pushing 80 maybe. So yeah, he was an older guy, and so he he used his own face as a model for Yoda. His son Graham became a makeup artist in his own right, working alongside his father on Star Wars and Superman films. Landing a starship. So this just kind of goes through the process of landing. So it talks about, you have to be, I would imagine it's very similar to, say, a helicopter or something like that. It talks about atmospheric conditions, uneven terrain, maybe variables in gravity, and all that kind of stuff. So this one was pretty funny. So we've all heard the um, it's a good landing is anything that you can walk away from, to which the disgruntled traffic controller in charge of the bay is likely to reply, but a great landing is one that allows you to take off again. I always thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if that part is a continuation of this uh, uh, actually well-known saying, but I thought that was actually pretty funny. So a lot of landing platforms are personally built, and they're designed to make landing easier than just landing on the ground and what have you. Um, vicious crosswinds and all that kind of stuff. So it talks about how to land. You're going to come in and hit your repulsor jets to slow you down, and so you can land, um, that type of thing. So um, but a skilled pilot can still do it a bit more aggressively. So this kind of lays out what was unique about the Millennium Falcon's feet. Well, the YT 1300 actually. So it has these ribs here for the loose soil. You can see how the edges are kind of flared away, so that way it doesn't catch on stuff. If it was hanging down, it might catch. So this helps kind of push stuff away. And then it's actually got magnetic lockings in here, so it can actually lock onto magnetic or metallic landing pads and that kind of thing, which is probably one of the ways that Han actually was able to stick himself to the back of the Star Destroyer. So let's see if it talks about. It says that there's about 2 meters that allows people to get underneath. I think it talks here about, I think over here, yeah. So the stock ship has temperature feedback sensors fitted in, so that the jets, right, the thruster jets for landing, so that way it doesn't damage the platform or land, any grass or whatever. Um, so, however, to deter unwanted attention, Han Solo disconnected the landing jet's automatic heat control system. So he made it so he would have to engage the control system so it wouldn't throw out hot air. So it was possible to fire them powerful bursts at high temperature, gas downwards and around the hull to help kind of get rid of any unwanted creatures or what have you on the landing zones. So the landing controls are over by the co-pilot, so Chewie would be handling a lot of that kind of stuff, and it's also helped with the train following sensor, so it helps them uh, underneath. It helps them know exactly where the land is and that kind of stuff. So a lot of it can be taken care of rather simply. So in A New Hope, this shows here there was only 3 landing legs for the Millennium Falcon, and so in Empire Strikes Back they added 2 more. They added these 2 right here, and so this talks about how um, all of that happened, and um, in actuality they actually had additional supports here in A New Hope because it was so heavy. But they disguised them as like fuel lines and that kind of stuff. so you didn't really see them. So that's what it talks about here. Uh, an additional support pillar had to be rigged up close to the position that would later be occupied by one of the forward landing pads. But this was disguised as a fuel line for Empire Strikes Back when a complete ship was when a complete ship was fabricated over a metal frame. The result weighed 25 tons. That's pretty cool, and had to be fitted with air compressed lifting pads to make it easier to move around the set. This version was given 2 additional landing legs where the concealed pillar had been installed in A New Hope, making a total of 5 support arrays. The Falcon now had a total of 7 landing feet, counting the 2 dual ones at the rear. So, and this is what the landing legs actually look like. I mean, you've all kind of seen them. And this was actually rather interesting. So, filming the miniature of the Falcon, it talks about how they had hard points where they would put an arm so they could do the blue screen while it was flying, right? Um, allowing them to support at different points for blue screen filming. In most cases, these take the form of holes into which rods can be inserted, some of them locked in place by small screws that are visible on the surface of the model. The filming miniatures were mainly built to be used in blue screen motion control filming where the supports would not be seen. However, for a few scenes where it was necessary to film the model standing on land, accurately modeled sets of legs were fitted to holes on the underside. The full-size Falcon set built for The Empire Strikes Back had an extra pair of landing legs compared to the one seen in A New Hope. So the filming miniature built for the second movie reflected this change. When the original larger prop was reused, it had to be modified to reflect the change to 5 sets of legs. So in Empire Strikes Back, they actually used the original Millennium Falcon that they used from A New Hope, and it looks like from this picture, I'm guessing it's when they were inside the asteroid. So that's kind of cool. Um, yeah. And that one is like 5 foot long instead of the 3 feet that was in Empire Strikes Back. So um, yeah, pretty cool. So there is the bits of issue 15. I do want to give you the bonus information. Give me 1 second. Let me pull that up. I forgot to have that ready to go before we did this. So I just want to let you know the stats of what we did in issue 15. So in issue 15, we had total length of the actual recording, or not the actual recording, but the total length of the video was 16 minutes and 40 seconds, which is uh, um, probably it is the smallest by far. I only had the actual video recording was 20 minutes long, which I had to edit some out. And um, one of the things is that I think that would be interesting. Let me see if I can find this. Was that we used a total of 14 screws for this one. So there's 14 screws. That gives us a total of like 88 screws total that we've used so far on this. So next time we'll be doing issue 16, and like I said, we're going to be doing the kind of part of the corridor that goes through there. I think. I don't know. We are getting some more hull plating, but I'm guessing we're going to wait till we get a total of 3 pieces before we do any of that. So I would imagine we're probably going to be doing these or the rings that came from issue 15. So we'll see what happens on issue 16, and I will catch you then. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have actually watched Rebels, and remember that that part about the B-Wings. And also let me know if there's anything in these that you would like for me to spend a little bit more time on and go a little bit more into detail. I'm always happy to do that. So again, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always.